grey rain curtain of this world rolls back and all turns to silver glass. And then you see it.
See what?
A new edition.
And beyond.
Hate to interrupt you there, Gandalf. Hopefully, beyond, we might be seeing some plastic riders of our Henry sculpts. Please and thank you, Games Workshop, please.
That isn't so bad.
So yes, another year draws to a close, and so does another year of epic Middle-earth hobby, culminating in the most awesome event of the year, the Middle-earth Throne of Skulls up at Warhammer World. Yes, the road goes ever on and on, but this time with a slight pang of sadness as we bid a fond farewell to the old edition of our beloved game in favour of a new, shiny edition, which will hopefully be everything the old one was and more going forward. You guys have been following me on my Road to Throne of Skulls vlog, going through how I composed my army and my display board ready for the event that has just happened last weekend, and now I'm doing my customary wind-up of the event, going through all my games and the event itself, as I tend to do after a big event at Warhammer World. So this will be the last Throne of Skulls vlog you'll see from me, until hopefully next year. I mean, what can I say? Throne of Skulls is such an epic event. It's just a great weekend of like-minded hobbyists playing the game in the spirit which it's supposed to be played. No one's taking anything too competitively. Everyone's playing in the spirit of the game. Everyone's playing the armies that they want to play. Sometimes to a detriment in favour of theme. You know, like full pikemen. It's just great, and you see so many familiar faces and new ones and faces I haven't seen for such a long time. It's been really lovely, particularly as I didn't get a chance to go to the 2024. No, this was 2024. 2023 Throne of Skulls. The last one I was at was 2022. But it's just a chance for everyone to kind of go, have 5 games of just pure Middle-earth hobby goodness. Just to feel like a proper nerd in a like-minded environment with other nerds and just all just enjoy this hobby that's brought us all together and that is so hard to get tickets for. I mean, the GT tickets went on sale Monday, and they went on sale at 7 o'clock for an event in March, and they sold out in 15 seconds. Does that not tell Games Workshop that this is one of the most popular events? We love this game, and we're going to continue to love this game and the community that we've all helped to build around it. I need to start off by saying the sheer level of hobby this year was outstanding. Now, I mean, the level of hobby every year is really, really good. It's always really good. People are always pushing their armies, pushing display boards, with new techniques and new themes and new things and new lists you wouldn't even have thought of. But this year, I mean, it was astronomical. We had some of the most creative and amazing display boards I think I've ever seen. We had a couple of Moria ones, one with false perspective, so you can see down the tunnel of Moria. The Dwaro Delph with a big LED orange panel which lit up. There was a ride-out diorama which had the Theoden and Aragorn Legolas riding out from the Keep of Helm's Deep, and underneath there was a 2-tier display with glittering caves. There was a lot of Ents this year as well, to be fair. Paul took Ents up on his beautiful wooden display board. There was another one which was a giant plant pot, and had all the Ents over that as well, which was absolutely beautiful as well to see. The usual people that I see up there who do display boards and always knock out of the park: Phil Beale and his Battle of Bywater display board, and Damien with his Unexpected Party, which everyone who took a display board up, everyone who took new armies up, in fact everyone there, everyone smashed it out of the park this year. Everyone should be super proud of the level of hobby that they represented this year. It's getting harder and harder to fight for those coveted Best Army nominees. I have no idea how the event staff picked who they did. I was very fortunate to get one as well for Isengard, and I think I was lucky in that regard, because I don't think what I contributed was anywhere near the level of what some other people were contributing. And the level of painting goes up every year. Everyone's models look stunning. The display boards all look phenomenal. And seriously, just the sheer amount of passion that you can see people have for this game, it really comes across at the Throne of Skulls events and the GT events, particularly at the Throne of Skulls events. Massive congratulations to everybody who got a Best Army nomination. I think, personally, they could have opened it up to about 30 people, and they still wouldn't have been able to cover all the awesome hobby that was up there. But yeah, I don't envy the middle-left team having to pick, or cherry-pick, from the people that went. So yes, I went up with my Isengard list, my Isengard board, my Tower of Orthanc, dominating over this 2x2 foot board with Saruman in the balcony, overlooking the wall of pikes, which I did finally yield into taking. I took 60 23 pikemen. Because when I first made the list, I forgot to account for the 17 points the pikes actually cost. And then when I was working out with the 4 banners, I was slightly over, so I had to cut a banner back to then math it out properly. So it sat on the board in nice ADHD kind of satisfying ranks. So it made my OCD a little bit better as well. But yes, no, all pikes was the order of the day. All pikes, all banners. And how did they fare? Well, can I just tell you that aside from not really having to worry where your army goes, because you can generally always support when you need to, it doesn't do very well. Defense 5 for Uruk-hai is a very sad time to be in Uruk. They really want their defense 6. Oh yes, they do. They also really want 2 attack berserkers, strength 4 crossbows, and a wizard running around doing half the work for them. But theme is the order of the day when it comes to Throne of Skulls, and I like to think that I smashed out the theme. And there's also something super satisfying of just seeing blocks of pikemen running across the board at you. It's got to be a little bit intimidating, right? It certainly looks damn cool. Ultimately, I think I came 28th out of 78, which was a shock. I won 2 out of 5 games, which is probably on par, to be fair. Did I win 2 out of 5 games? I'm pretty sure I won 2 out of 5 games. Yes, I won 2 out of 5 games. Which is fairly on par for kind of where I'm at. I tend to just chuck things into the mix and see what sticks. And I was very fortunate enough to come away with 4 favourite player votes and 2 favourite army votes. So I'm very grateful for my opponents who voted for those, for my army and for myself. Thank you very, very much. Also, I super wasn't hungover this weekend, and that's nothing short of a miracle. I can't even blame my poor performance on alcohol, but I'm gonna blame it on dice. So let's go into a brief roundup of my 5 games across the weekend. Game 1, I was very, very fortunate and very overjoyed to see that I had drawn my very dear friend Phil Beale, this wonderful, magnificent hobbit you can see here, who was coming up with his Battle of Bywater board. This, when it laid out in front of me, amounted to the ridiculous number of 120 hobbits. That's a lot of hobbits. But yes, led by Merry, we had Frodo, Sam, and Pippin, as well as Paladin, and a host of other heroes. Of course, Baldo there, the all-knowing, almighty Baldo, always a regular sight in Phil's Hobbit lists. This was an awful lot to chew through, and Phil, you're a wonderful man. But if anyone puts 120 hobbits out in front of you on the board, there's a little bit of your soul that kind of goes, there's so many models to get through. And had I had a force that was smaller, or one of the hero forces I was considering before I settled on Isengard, I don't think I would have fared nearly as well. Ironically, this was actually one of the ones I managed to win. The game was Destroy the Supplies, and obviously we've got our 3 objectives set up 12 inches from the backboard, and first couple of turns, all my pikemen just go heroic march. We're 9 inches further across the board, because you've got to think every single hobbit's got a throwing stone, as well as the 30 or so I think that Phil had armed with bows. So it's about 100 shots a turn, give or take, depending on who's moved and who hasn't. If he lines it up properly and makes use of the fact that hobbits don't have to move very far, and that you're going to come to them, then yeah, it's a lot of missile fire coming your way. Thankfully, it didn't do an awful lot of damage to the pikemen. I think in the first couple of turns, Bowfire and Stones took out 3 or 4 pikemen, which is well below averages, so I very much got lucky there. I know they still need 6s to wound Defence 5 pikemen, but yeah, law of averages said you'd roll a couple more 6s on the wound roll with that many shots. But I was very fortunate there. Phil not so fortunate with his dice rolls. So yes, I've abandoned my back 3 objectives. Phil has set up a monumental line of hobbits defending his, ready for me to punch through. And upon turn 3, Phil did a tactic. I prefer the orange ones. Phil had the gall to go and do a tactic when he popped Paladin and his, I want to say, Tookish Hunters? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were Tookish Hunters, out of an ambush piece of terrain which I'd already marched well and truly past, and then proceeded to destroy all 3 of my objectives, netting him a healthy number of points to begin with. So then proceeds just multiple turns of just trying to fight through an unending tidal wave of hairy hobbit feet. There was so much bloodshed. So many hobbits died. We got Merry as well. I got all 4 of the main hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin. Rosie failed a courage test and ran away as soon as Sam died. That was very thematic. That came quite hand in hand with when Phil broke. Yeah, and ultimately I did manage, and this was only in the last couple of turns, I managed to destroy 2 of Phil's supplies, as well as break him and kill his leader, who was Merry. So it did only end up being, it was a 1 point swing, and it only happened on the last turn when I was able to get through to one of these second supplies. It was on the very last turn before the game ended. Had I killed one more Hobbit before this turn, the game would have ended the turn previous, because I had to kill like 91 Hobbits to get the Hobbit force down to 25% and thus forcibly end the game. And I think the turn before I got this objective, I'd killed 90 and failed to kill the last couple I was in combat with. So I bought myself another turn, and then I was able to get on the second objective and wipe out one of the supplies. I say, combined with killing Merry and breaking his force as well, netted me, I think we ended up on an 8-9 win to me, so it was a bloody close match. Super, super close. Could not have asked for a better first game for the event. I've been very fortunate with all 5 of my games over this weekend, but Phil played an absolute blinder. It was so much fun, and the most resilient one of Farm and Maggot's hounds kept my Uruk-hai leader in combat for 2 turns, so he couldn't then catch up with the rest of the force once I doubled back to try and deal with Paladin and realised that wasn't going to happen because they were too far away. But as a result of that, I did get my secret objective. I did manage to control the centre of the board, because I had more models in the centre of the board than the Hobbit force. With 1. That's mental, right? How did the Uruk-hai outnumber the Hobbits? I suppose you can't outnumber anything if you killed most of them. But that was a ridiculously fun game. I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of that. Phil, your army looked beautiful as well. Like, he's themed all of his bases. I remember him telling me he's alliteratively, that's not the right word, but you know what I mean. All his bases, all his basing for his hobbits are alliteration. So he's got signposts for sheriffs, barrels for battling brandy bucks, all sorts of stuff. Phil, you always put 110% into all your hobby. You are the king of the resin base as well. And your board looks stunning, your hobbits look stunning. I'm super happy and proud to have given you a decent game to start off the weekend. I hope I gave you a good game to start the weekend off. It's always a pleasure when we get to roll dice. And I managed to kill. I hold the record over the weekend for highest tally of hobbits killed. I killed 105 of that 120 hobbit force. So I had some very tired Uruk-hai going into the next 2 games, and unfortunately it shows by my dice rolls. But Phil, it was a phenomenal game. Thank you so much. Your army looked beautiful. Your board looked stunning. All the work you put into the bottom of that board with all the light up little rooms, which I don't know if many people saw, because I don't know how obvious it was, because you've got this massive, great big expanse on the top with all these bright, colourful hobbits. I hope people took the time to go see all the work that went into building the under bit of it as well. It looks stunning. Thank you so much for giving me the best game I could have wanted to start off the last event for this current edition. Thank you so much, Phil. I can't wait to play you in the new edition. So, yes, we did start the weekend on a high with a minor win. So we start climbing those illustrious tables towards the upper area of the event, and we come up against James Huggins and his lovely The Last Alliance army. Now, Last Alliance isn't an army that you see very often. I think maybe people are just itching and clamouring for new plastics, new models, and a new edition of this army book. They are, I think, if not the oldest, then among the oldest sculpts for any models that Games Workshop have done for Middle-earth, and they are clamouring for a resculpt. And if nothing else, just separate the High Elf Swordsmen out from the Numenor Warriors, because you don't always want to have Numenor and High Elf Warriors in the same box. Also, please sort out your Spearmen, because that Games Workshop resin makes for some very sad-looking Spearmen on the table. They are not good sculpts. I love Games Workshop models, I love Lord of the Rings, but these these Spearmen are just not good models to build or paint. But yes, it was James and his lovely-looking The Last Alliance army. It was led by Gil-galad and Elendil on horse, who, as soon as I saw them, the Uruk-hai made such sad noises. Oh my days, they were so sad to see these 2 titans of The Last Alliance running around doing what they do, and they did it very, very well. So the game we had for this epic climax of men and elves against the vile hordes of Saruman was to the death. To the death, mounted Elendil and Gil-galad, defense 5, pikemen. And a very limited number of might points. I think you can kind of already tell where this one went. James played an absolutely phenomenal game. He played it super, super well. The Last Alliance army was relatively low on numbers, because elves in themselves are quite expensive. There's a smattering of cavalry there as well, and obviously Gil-galad and Elendil take up a lot of the points value in a Last Alliance army. And you had a nice mix between the Numenor spearmen and the high elves. I think there was a captain there as well, if I remember rightly. His army wasn't huge compared to the mass of pikes that was coming up against him, but James played an absolute blinder. You used the terrain super well to your advantage, and you forced me to have to kind of like pour my pike blocks, and like Uruk-hai just kind of like forming around terrain, trying to get round and trying to get as many bodies into where they needed to be. You picked off a decent amount with bowfire as well, did that extremely well, and kind of forced me to put the fight onto his terms, which was super great tactically and really made me think. In as much as I ever think when I played Lord of the Rings, and obviously when you're playing a whole pikeman army, there's even less thinking about your positioning. And to the death. And I think after slaughtering 105 hobbits, my Uruk-hai were exhausted. Their pikes were blunted. Their armour was rendered with hobbit bits, if you like. There was hobbit hair caught up everywhere. They were just exhausted. It was a horrible time to be an Uruk-hai, particularly whenever an Uruk-hai did deign to roll a 6 in combat. And there's usually 3-on-1s, 3-on-2s for combat, so I've got the dice advantage there as well. Whenever the Uruk-hai decided, yes, now is the time, I will roll a 6 for Master, we will get this going, we'll get the ball rolling, and all we need is 5 to kill elves and Numenorians. No, the elves decide, you know what, I'm a roll a 6, but it'll be better than yours, Uruk, because I'm an elf, and I'm fight value more than you can ever hope to be. It was a bad time to be an Uruk-hai, I must say, and with Elendil and Gil-galad killing between 4 and 6 Uruks just themselves a turn, especially with Elendil getting that free heroic combat a turn, because the main bulk of the Uruk-hai had to bleed around a field in the middle to get to the 2 blocks of elves and Numenorians that had split up by that point, and Elendil and Gil-galad came round the side and then just started pummeling in with cavalry, and cavalry charges hurt, man. They really, really hurt. Now, if I had a bit more dice luck, maybe it wouldn't have been quite such a spanking for Isengard, but yeah, James, you played an absolutely phenomenal game. You played a blinder, and you were really gracious about it as well. I know it's never good to be on the receiving end of a sheer host of 6s and so many dead models. No, you were really gracious and really supportive with it, and you really made me feel like I was still part of in the game, even though after a while we both knew I really wasn't. But I really enjoyed our game, and it was the first time I've had a chance to play, James, and hopefully it won't be the last, because the man makes you think, and I mean, I don't think anyway in the best times, but it really put me through my paces, and I really appreciated the game we had, because it was a great second game. I'm going to gush about all my opponents, because you were all absolutely lovely. You really were, and I enjoyed every single one of my games. The fact that I can only give out 2 favourite game votes is frankly criminal, because I wanted to give out 5. But that's not how the event works, sadly. But yeah, you played an absolutely brilliant game. It was a wonderful game too. Thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And you watch yourself. I'm coming for your elves. I will be there for your elves. Their days are numbered. Oh, I'm coming. So game 3 rolls up, and we're back down where we belong in the kind of mid-sways of the table. And who do I see across from me again? But it's Matthew Allen, a wonderful gentleman who I've had the pleasure of playing before. And who do I see he's playing again? It's Rivendell Elves again. And I'm thinking, oh no, we've just had this 6s, equal power times for Uruks. Oh, this is going to be horrible again. This is going to be such a kicking again. Thankfully there was no Gil-galad, there was no Elendil this time. It was Elrond, Eristor was in the previous game, apologies. It was Elrond, Legolas and Gimli, that was right. I got very excited because Saruman's to-do list, which unfortunately I did not manage to fill out over the event, but I did get the chance to add 2 names to Saruman's kill to-do list, and I had the chance to kill both Gimli and Legolas. So we had Elrond, some Rivendell Knights, and just general Rivendell bodies there, and allied in Legolas and Gimli, because why not? If you get a chance to add Legolas and Gimli, yeah, add Legolas and Gimli. It looks super cool. The models are beautifully painted. The armour looked absolutely stunning. I loved the purple basing on your elves. It really made them pop. There's the beautiful hues there with the darker silvery kind of tones of your armour. Made your armour look super striking. It was gorgeous. So yes, the scenario was command the battlefield, if I'm remembering rightly. And again, Rivendell elves, it's not a terribly high model count. Mainly it doesn't need to be, but also you get what you pay for. Those Rivendell cavalry are probably the best cavalry in the game, and they certainly show it. My God, even when you get the charge on them, they can be devastating still. And when you're on the receiving end of 6 of those plus Elrond going into your ranks of defense 5 pikemen, and I'm stressing defense 5 pikemen with a lance as well. Oh boy, you don't have to see pikemen drop quick. I made the super tactical decision to not really play the objectives in this one. I don't really know why. I got super caught up in just the throws and energy of our game. I just wanted to get in there and really try and put the hurt on some elves, particularly after the spanking the Uruks got in the previous game. I thought, I'm gonna take some elf off this board, and we're just gonna flood the board with pikes, and we're gonna be just Legolas and Gimli left, and we're gonna go hunting for them. It was a Maelstrom game. Commander Battlefield is a Maelstrom game, and I was very fortunate to be able to basically deploy all my forces in front of where I was. I think there was one warband that had to come on the east side, and then I got to just pull that closer to me. So I had all my army in like an L shape around the edge of the board, which was super lucky. And Matt, you're a true gentleman. You saw what I was trying to do with Legolas and Gimli, and Gimli was your first one to Maelstrom down, and you got the choice of where to put him. Initially, you did put him up right next to you on your table edge. This is after my pikemen have already come on, so we're already 6 inches on, ready for the march. And you're deploying a few more elves, and then Matt turns around and goes, actually, do you mind if I change where I put Gimli? And I'm like, I don't mind. I'm easy. You can do what you want with him. Where does he put him? The legend, he puts him right behind a block of 18 pikemen, because he knows he's one of the targets I want. And with Gimli, defense 8, he's fairly stoic and fairly solid. There's a good chance he can probably tie up these 18 pikemen and captain for most of the game. So I'm all for this. Like, yeah, fine, put him there. That's brilliant. I'm going to have great fun with this. It'll be a great little squad, but it's going to last most of the game. Probably going to see either 18 pikemen dead or Gimli die, but towards the later end of the game, it's going to be 18 bodies I'm going to worry about for most of the game, and I have charged as many bodies into Gimli as I possibly can. Every single model that can get in base contact is, and I've supported with 2 pikes behind every single one. I think the captain was in there as well, managed to wheel him round. Legolas starts taking some shots off and doesn't really achieve anything, I don't think, if I remember rightly. As takes after my Legolas, where he achieves literally nothing on the board. The first round of combat, Gimli versus, I think it was 18 Uruk-hai and a captain. I managed to get into him. And Gimli's sitting there, defense 8, 2 attacks, fight value 6, 3 might points. He's got this for a few turns. The clouds come over. The dice are rolled. Gimli gets 3 ones. A hush comes over the crowd. The thunderous stomp of hooves and pikes is drowned out by a very sad groan from poor Matt across the table as he realises what's probably about to happen. Those 3 ones have spelt turn 1 death for Gimli, son of Gloin. Well, turn 2 death, because I couldn't charge on turn 1. But as far as combat goes, the first turn of combat saw Gimli fall to a captain in 18 pikemen. I'm dying! That was probably where my luck, probably for the weekend, kind of peaked, really. I've never seen Gimli just fall over that quickly, and I think it really caught us both by surprise. But like Nat, you were a huge sport for doing that, and obviously, if there was any inclination of him just going down like that at all, we would not even have toyed with putting him down there. You could have played with your toy, We had no idea that was going to happen, obviously. But and that's what I mean when I say throwing skulls about the theme and the fun of it. There was no reason for Matt to put it down there other than he knew that I wanted to kill him, and that was going to be my goal for the game. So he thought, let's make it a little mini game in itself. The fact that it was over turn 1 is unfortunate, but dice games, right? And yeah, I love you for that, man, because that was just so in the spirit of how this game needs to be played. It was brilliant. And then obviously the rest of the Rivendell kind of rode down most of the pikemen. If not all the pikemen. I think I had a very few left at the end of the game. We did make a beeline for Legolas. We did try the best we could to get Legolas. Unfortunately, I couldn't quite claim the Elvish Prince alongside his Dwarven counterpart, but we did get one tick off the tally sheet for Saruman. I think it was the only tally we got off the sheet, unfortunately, because we didn't actually face that many Rohan or Fellowship members over the course of the weekend. Had I played the Ride Out list, that could have been an opportunity to get them all ticked off, but hey-ho. next time. Yeah, Matt, again, you played a phenomenal game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoy every game you get to play. I've only had the chance to play you once or twice before. Not enough as far as I'm concerned. Great fun. You were a brilliant sport about the Gimli thing. I think after that happened, I just came around and gave you a big hug because neither one of us expected that to happen. But yeah, phenomenal game and a great way to round off day one, because day one was 3 games and we had the pub quiz. So it was a great way of being able to just kind of like mellow out the end of the first day, enjoy rolling dice and just watching Urux get blatted by Rivendell for the second time. But you were great fun, man. I can't wait to play you again, wherever that's at GT or Throne of Skulls or another independent event. Very much looking forward to it, man. We have great games. Thank you so much for an amazing Game 3. So we have had the night of libacious activities, the quiz, and a fairly restful night's sleep. And we get up not hungover and go into Game 4. Game 4 was Breakthrough, and I was up against Liv Naylor and their Gondor army, and I was so grateful to be playing something that wasn't elves. You guys know Gondor is my first and foremost love when it comes to Middle-earth. I love Minas Tirith, I love Gondorians. I am all about that shield wall, all about those ranks, that silver tide led by, well, I mean, I lead by Denethor, so that shows you exactly how effective my Minas Tirith tend to be. But it was really refreshing to see the wall of silver across from the wall of darker silver, I guess. The wall of spiky, actually. The number of times I put those pikes between my nail and my nail bed. Like, I'm surprised I got any favourite gamer votes. The number of times I just was moving models and just shouted, "Ow!" in my opponent's face, basically, because I leant over and hit a pike or something had gone up my nail, or I'll tell you what, a couple of inappropriate times. If I'd have sneezed, I'd have put an eye out. So yes, as I said, the game was Breakthrough. The idea was to capture the objective on the opposing half of the board. You get points for doing that, points for controlling the centre, and the least amount of points for controlling your home one. And you can deploy basically 1 inch apart from your opponent if you wish. You've got a 24-inch deployment, and you can deploy on that centre line if you so wish, which is exactly what we did. There was 2 blocks of pikes there, and a whole block of Gondorian spearmen ranked up about 1.5 inches apart, with Aragorn LSR sitting in the middle, and the very threatening Prince Imrahil on horseback with Dol Amroth Swan Knights behind the ranks, ready to charge in and mop up what was left. They were very... They were a deterrent, and they definitely deterred. Yeah, turn 1 just saw it become an absolute meat grinder. The Uruk-hai run in with the higher fight value, so I am unfortunately winning the roll-offs, which was really sad for poor Liv, because the number of times that you rolled a 6, and again, it was the Rivendell problem that I had the previous day, but I would then roll a 6 and just get it on the fight value, and it's never good for that feeling to happen. It's never good for that to be a thing. Particularly not consistently over the course of a game, but you were really good sport about it. You were really, really gracious about that as well. The shield wall saved you really, really, really well, because otherwise I'm wounding Minas Tirith on 5s, but they back away into a shield wall, which takes the defense to 7, which then negates the strength 4 of the Uruk-hai pikemen. So it did keep you alive longer than I think if you just had, if you'd not had a shield wall there, if you had something else or some other Citadel Guard there or something, because that's what I tend to do, is put the Citadel Guard behind the warriors, and then cry when my Minas Tirith die on 5s. So yeah, you played that really, really well. Aragorn did what Aragorn does. Aragorn punched a hole through the middle of a pike block, turned around, and his army was still stood where it was, albeit with a fair few less Gondorians. Yeah, Aragorn just did what Aragorn did, and he went around and just wrecked absolute Uruk face, which is to be expected, right? You don't go up against LSR and expect not to lose models, because that's just what he does. But yeah, it just became an absolute meat grinder. Gondorians were falling, Uruk-hai were falling, but not so quickly. But yeah, left, right, and centre, things were dying, things were pushing through, and then this wave of Uruks at one point managed to get around the sides of the Gondorians and just like close the jaws of the White Hand around this poor host of Gondorians. On the right hand side, I had the leader and another couple of blocks of pikemen just kind of running up the board. There was a handful of archers and a captain who had taken garrison in a little Osgiliath ruin, who were really effective at shooting. They knocked out quite a few Uruks to shooting, but they just wouldn't die in combat. I couldn't kill archers in combat with combat models. Like, I don't even know why Liv, why did you bother taking anything that wasn't archers? Your archers were amazing. Yeah, they were the most resilient archers I think I've ever come up against. They just would not die. And we will round the side with one of the blocks of pikemen, and then suddenly Imrahil comes crashing in with his Knights of the Lamroth, and he takes off about, I don't know, that warband takes off about a dozen Uruk-hai warriors that one turn. Such sad Uruk-hai noises when the Prince of the Lamroth just rams in, heroic combat, takes off with his lance. But then the Uruk-hai, they rallied. And the song of Imrahil became such a sad song when he was surrounded, out of might, and unfortunately rolled a 3 or a 4. The Uruk-hai just pounded him, just got him, turned him into a Dol Amroth shish kebab. And that was unfortunately the end of the good Prince Imrahil, as well as the dangerously strong and horrific Dol Amroth Night Charge, which did so much pain. So much pain. I love cavalry armies, and I really want to do more cavalry armies, but the idea of getting charged back and then just watching your higher price models just fall off the board, it makes me sad. So I apologise if my army made you sad, Liv. No, you were a phenomenal way to start day 2. It was great to play something a little bit different over the weekend. I think over the weekend I played 2 Hobbits, 2 Rivendell, effectively, and 1 Gondorian. So not a great mix, but you were really, really good to have that splash of Gondor in there, which kind of just... Well, it just gives it a different game, right? There's only so many times you can run up against elves and roll 6s, but they roll better 6s, and you still feel like you're playing the game, you know what I mean? But, like you said that you love the look of the army, and you were really happy to play against, to play your spear block against my spear block. It was really, really good fun. Really thoroughly enjoyed that game. Shield Ball is a pain. It just takes any effectiveness away from the Uruks. Yeah, they're winning the fight, but if they can't push through with their strength 4, which is what they kind of rely on, they are a frontward steamroller army. If they can't push through, then they just stop, and you played that really, really well. You held the cavalry back longer than I thought you were going to, which really caught me off guard. I'm used to kind of running them in at the first opportunity. That's how I play my cavalry. It's not the right way to play cavalry. You held them back for the right point and then charged them in when you saw a decent gap for maximising your combats. To get kind of all of them in. I tend to just run them in and then see like, oh, hang on, only 2 or 3 have managed to get in, and I've got this block of cavalry behind them that can't do anything. No, you got all those knights in the turn you charged in, which was great timing from you, and they were a really huge deterrent from me just folding round on the rest of your Gondorians sooner than I would have done either. So yeah, you played that phenomenally well. At one point, Liv turns around and goes, oh, don't forget to get your points, go over to objectives. And I've looked at the board and I've gone, nah, don't need those. Who needs points? I'm not here for points. I'm here for fun. I completely abandoned my home objective. Didn't even bother going for the right-hand one. I think I only got the left-hand one and the furthest one on because I was there anyway. I wasn't actively going for them. But yeah, thank you so much for a great game, Liv. And we've not had the chance to play before. And again, someone else who I'm really hoping I get a chance to play at future events. Whatever that is we end up playing, you give a phenomenal game, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And your Gondor looked great. I'm all up for Gondor. Big love for Gondor. So you're alright in my books. And now we come to the final game. What is probably going to be the final game of the current edition. The last game I'm going to play of the edition we've all played for so long and love so much. So this game means a little bit more than it maybe would normally at the end of an event. Of course, I'm only ever playing for fun anyway, but the last game at the event always feels, bittersweet, because the event's coming to an end, you just want to roll some dice, you're just playing for fun, and, I'm not saying that there's anyone I'd rather play over anyone else, but I think your opponent matters a bit more in that, because you're all just kind of let's just play this, have a great cracking game, and thankfully every last game I've played in that event has been phenomenal. So yes, we rock up to the table, and someone comes along, some flashy git turns up in some suit. Honestly, you blink and you miss him. He didn't stand out at all. He was very subtle in the crowd, and to that end, one to watch, quite dangerous. What was his name again? David? Derek? Dimitri?
All right, Dave.
I am, of course, talking about the always wonderful, the amazing paragon and pillar of the Middle-earth community, Damien Byrne. This man is a joy always. He is one of the most wonderful games of Middle-earth you can ever hope to play. I've had the chance to play him now twice as my 5th game at a Throne of Skulls. Imagine our joy when we get to the table and we're just just This is exactly what we wanted. This is probably the last game either of us are going to play for this edition. And we just went at each other. It did then mean I was playing the Hobbits again. Not 120 of them though. There was about 70 odd. So yeah, that was refreshing. But yeah, I don't know where to start with this game. This game was probably the best game of Middle Earth I've had for a very long time. And that's tough competition when I go into the previous 4 games I played this weekend, and the fact that at least I used to play quite a lot. I haven't really had the chance to recently with little one and work and trying to do editing and film stuff and everything else that just goes with being a content creator and just living nowadays, living and working. So like he's generally one of the nicest guys you'll ever get a chance to play, and if you ever come up against him at a tournament, I mean, taking this from me, that you're going to have a damn good game, because we always have. And this was against his beautiful, and I mentioned it earlier on, this beautiful unexpected party board. That is beautiful, the dragon firework in the middle, all lit up, and the sheer amount of hobby work this man had done on this board was incredible. He'd converted more or less, I'd say 2/3 to 3/4 of the hobbits were converted. Please tell me if I'm wrong there, Damien. If you did more, then shout me down, please. I need to know. Like he had the cake there, which were being lifted by 2 hobbits. He had horn blowers. He had hobbits sitting in trees. He had proud feet with their feet up, foot up. I can't even talk. It was something that I think we all aspire to achieve as hobbyists. It's like that kind of recreating that scene from the film perfectly, and I'm talking perfectly. This was a great looking board and a great honour to play against it, and yourself as well. The game was Fog of War, which is probably one of my favourite scenarios from the current edition, old edition now, which is where you have to nominate a piece of terrain to control by the end of the game. You have to nominate one of your heroes to stay alive, and vice versa. Nominate one of the opponent's heroes to kill over the course of the game, and then you score VPs accordingly. And I think there's VPs for breaking as well. Is it breaking or leader? One of the two. Shows how much I know about the scenarios, right? So we rank up, and we just go at it. He had very humbly asked me if, because he had Frodo in the list as well, if Bilbo could be the ring bearer, and in theme, staying in theme with how his list would run, Bilbo has to be the ring bearer as he has it on his birthday. And if I were to allow him to wear that ring, all he would spend his game doing is trying to leave the board and escape. Circa Fellowship of the Ring. Well, Bilbo got about halfway across the board, then got kicked to death by Uruk-hai, bless him. He's not going to have to worry about any more birthdays. He has had his 71st. He's not going to have to worry about getting any older. No, poor Bilbo, I had him under my control for the first couple of turns, and when he put that ring on, and I just walked him into the middle of this pike block, who kind of stood around, just kind of hovering there, just ganging the Hobbit, and unfortunately, Bilbo was no more. But what do you expect when you invite an army of Uruk-hai to your birthday? Looks like Hobbit meat's back on the menu, boys. So once I'd got over the sheer amount of traps that a Hobbit army lays in front, which is I'd already dealt with on day one as well, with Phil. So once my pike blocks had finished falling down pit holes, flying up in nooses and falling over tripwires, we managed to close the gap on these hobbits, who again at range should have superiority, and I expect a lot more pikemen to go down at range for throwing stones and bows. And I only lost, I think that was one turn where I think maybe you killed 3 in one shooting phase altogether. But 2 or 3 turns, you didn't kill anything with bows. I'm sitting there being like, come on, I'm giving you myself on a silver platter here. I have to come to you. You can stay there. Dice, do better. But I set myself 2 objectives for this game. Well, 3, technically. The first one was I wanted to kill Bilbo. And the second one, I just wanted all that cake. I wanted to relieve those cake bearers of their cake. And that has nothing to do with the fact that Damien said there might be little surprises if I did both of these. No, I had my eyeball on that cake from the very beginning. We ended up fighting for control of my combat piece, which was the aptly termed Field of Death, which saw hobbits trying to fight off ranks of pikemen from defending the wall, who eventually did break over and did start swarming. And at one point the hobbits were fleeing. They fled the Field of Death. I wish you'd kept fleeing the Field of Death, because the only reason I lost that bit of terrain is because right at the end, there was one hobbit in there. Was it Robin Smallborough, I think? He did not die up against 6 pikemen, and then meant I couldn't get my max VPs for that piece of terrain. That was one brave sheriff, man. One very brave sheriff. We had Gandalf on his cart, who was firing off fireworks left, right, and centre, and then managed to get one squarely in the face of the Uruk-hai captain I was trying to keep alive. And not just the one I was trying to keep alive, it was the one that Damien was trying to kill. So he's halved his wounds from a wayward firework, which I think Damien said was the only time he's hit something with a firework all event. I'm so glad it was my guy. So yeah, every time then Gandalf's firing this firework off, my captain's a bit like, "What's going not be at me, please?" And yeah, I mean, Uruk-hai did what Uruk-hai do in combat with hobbits. The fight value, the numbers, and just so much death. So much tiny halfling death. The game ultimately came down to one combat roll, and that was Sam and Gandalf on my said Uruk-hai captain, who at this point had no might points left. You know, I'd spent all my might points nice and early, so I didn't have to worry about them anymore. He had no fate and one wound, and a strike got Sam to equal fight roll. So we were drawn fight value, we both rolled 6s, and it came down to one drawn combat roll to decide which way that would have gone. And it did indeed fall in Damien's favour, whereupon he was able to kill my hero, denying me the points for keeping him alive, and securing the points for Damien killing his intended target. At this point, he then flooded the board with all the heroes he'd been trying to keep, not away, but just kind of keep sheltered a little bit, because he had 19 hero hobbits in his army, so he had no idea which one I'd gone for. I, of course, had gone for Lobelia Sackville Baggins, because if you're going to bring an umbrella to a pike fight, you're going to get singled out, as far as I'm concerned. Who she did actually end up falling to the sheer number of pikes. This did end up being a minor loss at the end, so at the end we had, I think, was it one major, one minor win, 2 major losses and a minor loss. So, yeah, we won 1 against Phil, we lost 2 against the 2 Rivendales, I won the Gondor one, and then we lost the final Hobbit one. Also, I think I hold the record. I'm going to put this out to the GBHL and the community. Do I hold the record for most number of hobbits killed over an event? Because I killed 162 hobbits across 2 games. That's a lot of hobbits. And I have a hobbit trophy to remember killing poor Bilbo. He was sent an emissary to ransom him off, captured from Isengard. So I have a little hobbity memento to remember this wonderful game that we've had. And honestly, I don't think I could have asked for a better last game of the current edition. Damien, I don't know what to say, man. Like, you are a very dear friend as well, and you are such a cornerstone and such a pillar of the community. You are a genuine pleasure to play every single time. I run out of words to say and ways to say that you are just so much fun to play. We play it in the spirit it's meant to be played. We always just do silly stuff, stupid shit which doesn't need to be done in a game, which you wouldn't normally do in a game, but we do anyway because it's fun. And honestly, couldn't have asked for a better last game for the event, for the edition, and just for myself as well. Like, thank you so much for just rounding off the event perfectly, as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely perfectly. Thank you so much. And that will be, all 5 of my games. That is it. Throne of Skulls 2024 is finished. Just thank you to all my opponents for 5 absolutely amazing games. Thank you as well for all being very accommodating, letting Mrs. Mithril go around and take photos and do little shots as and when she was able to. I appreciate it was a massive distraction, so really thank you so much for letting us do that. I'm going to be doing a little reel at some point, or a video just with shots of armies and clips of sweeping shots we did, which haven't been featured in this video, so we're going to show off your armies on YouTube as well. But thank you guys for all just being so very patient with us while we do that. Hopefully she wasn't too intrusive in the games. It's kind of it, really. It all kind of comes really anticlimactically. All the ruins and all the terrain gets taken off the board, and you turn around half an hour later and it looks like just an empty gaming hall. It's really quite sad, actually, particularly this time around. I mean, I hate the post-tournament blues at the best of times, but yeah, there was something about this one in particular, and huge congratulations to everybody who walked away with commendations, nominations, and awards for the best armies, the judges' choices. I think Damien, you won most sporting best army, and you won the bloody thing. So if that doesn't tell you the kind of person Damien is with his hobby, I don't know what does. Massive congratulations there. Massive congratulations to everybody who, like I say, got a nomination or got an award for best army, or I think Andy got second most sporting and was the first one to get one of these cool Warhammer World medals, which looked awesome as well. And first, second place as well. And yeah, the sheer level of hobby this year was through the roof, and everyone was just so lovely. And I say it an awful lot, and I know I harp on about it. This is without a doubt the best community I've ever had the privilege of being a part of. You know, my wife turned around yesterday when we were talking about it and just says, I just found myself going up and talking to people that I've never even met before and just having conversations, and they've made me feel so welcoming even though I wasn't even playing. And I'm just like, well, that's who we are as a community. I like to think that we are just so welcoming, so caring for each other and nurturing of the hobby, and we play the game as it should be played. And you know, this transitioning from an old edition to a new edition now is even more poignant, because, like, from my perspective, I have a lot of the friends I have now, a lot of my nearest and dearest friends who I've had for years, decades now, like, I owe to this particular game, this particular hobby, this particular edition. Like, we met playing this game. And, like, we all met playing this game. The people that we see up at Warhammer World, and the people that I come up with, the people that I only see once or twice a year if I'm lucky to meet them at events, Paul, Sam, Crispin, Callum, Martin, Damien, you know, all these people who I only see a couple of times, we all met playing this game. And so to see it not die, but obviously games have to change and things have to move on, and obviously we want this game to move on, and the fact that it's still at its core the same game with tweaks and changes, yeah, sure, but every game has to have that to keep going. But the fact that the core rules are the same should tell you, Games Workshop, that this is one of the best games you've ever made. I'd argue it's probably your second most popular game behind 40k. And that, if the ticket sales don't tell you that, like 15 seconds and they're sold out, like, put more tickets on. You will get the attendees. You will fill that hall with Middle-earth players. There's no question of it. But yeah, so to say goodbye to this edition as it is, like, it gives me pause for thought, you know, because like I say, I wouldn't have a lot of the friends I have now if it wasn't for this game and wasn't for this community. So for that, I am always truly thankful, and I always try and put that across in my videos whenever I do vlogs or painting or anything like that. I always try and give my best to the community because the community was giving their best to me. So I like to think that in my own small way, I've done what I can and continue to do what I can to try and give back to this community that I'm so grateful to be a part of, and I just love so much, and I hope I get to be a part of for the rest of my life and for as long as this game continues to run. I will be going to as many events as I can be, because every single time I come back, I'm just like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do so many things. I'm one of the few fortunates. I think me and Jeb both managed to get a ticket for GT, so I'll be going up in March. So I now have to decide on two armies, a good and an evil. So if you've got any suggestions, please fire off in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. I've got a little idea of what I might be doing, and it might involve this little purchase I got at Warhammer World over the weekend. Who knows? Who knows what this could be involving? I mean, it's fairly obvious if I'm on him, but cryptic. But yeah, so that was an impulse purchase that didn't need to happen, but did. So I might try and just hang around that for the next event. But yeah, what a weekend. What a weekend. Thank you all so much for being who you are, for being the community you are, for making all the events we go to phenomenal, for the events team as well, for all the work they put into making it a memorable event, and all the work they do for nominations and just running it smoothly. And I don't think there's ever been any issue up at a Middle-earth event that I can remember, compared to some of the ones that I've seen issues happen with Malifaux events or other events I've been to before. Not frequently, but there have been some. But I don't think I've ever seen anything happen at a Lord of the Rings event. But yeah, that will be the end of my Road to Throne of Skulls 2024 blog series. Thank you guys for going on this journey with me. Again, massive congratulations to everybody who came away with awards or commendations over the weekend. Thank you guys so much for being just phenomenal community and letting me embed myself right in there, and really, like, keep going with the level of hobby, you guys, because bloody hell, it was phenomenal. I'm gonna have to seriously step my game up for next year, but I've got some ideas. But thank you guys so much for watching. Massive thank you again to all 5 of my opponents across the tournament. I cannot wait to play each and every one of you again in the brand new edition, and get to experience all this new glorious Lord of the Rings content we're getting all together for the first time. I cannot wait. But until next time, guys, that's all from me. Thank you for listening to me waffle on for what's probably about 40 minutes. If you got this far in the video, fair play to you. I don't like my voice at the best of times. But thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, take care and happy hobbying. Bye, guys.